Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope really everybody is doing well tonight. Just thought I'd jump on here and talk about my latest adventure running Tiny Dungeons. First time running it, and so I'm going to do a little recap tonight. I've started running this for the Boys and Girls Club right here. Here it is. New part-time job, working with teens, helping clubs build their, build up their teenagers that they have in their clubs, as well as working with other clubs in the area to help them facilitate that. And one of the things that I am using program-wise is for those that want to sign up, well, we say, hey, sign up for Dungeons and Dragons. And this particular club, the moment we announced it, 8 kids signed up. So I am running 2 different days. I am running a session for 4 6th graders, which is what I did today. And then I am running on Tuesday of next week, I am running a session for 4 8th graders. So that should be interesting. So I thought what I'd do is I'd come on tonight and just share kind of the breakdown, a little bit about Tiny Dungeons. This is my first time running it. Of course, that I did not, do everything perfectly, as one does when you're running a new system. But I'll get into that in a second. I want to welcome in. Hello, Mark. Welcome in, Mark. Good to see you. Welcome in, Cathonic. Also, wonderful to see you tonight as well. So yeah, I'm going to get into talking about Tiny Dungeons. First of all, if you have played Tiny Dungeons, leave a comment. Would love to hear from you. I'm going to show the cheat sheet, which will kind of give you all the information you need to know. I'll show you the character sheet and a few other little doodads and things like that. I don't think I'm wondering if I think I took one picture. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'll show. I don't have anybody in the picture because I don't have permission yet as to whether or not I'm going to put students in there, but I can show you this. Let's see here. I can show you the picture there. There's the setup, as you can see on the table there. You can see the little journals here. I have journals for the students. They can write their notes in there. And yeah, they're pretty well set up there. They have their journals. We have our board ready. We have their little yellow bags here filled with their dice, all that kind of good stuff. As I begin to prepare for them and tell them what is going on. So, but that's the basic setup there. Once again, there was, like I said, 4 6th graders, and they were a squirrely bunch. But let me tell you something. 6th graders are great. Middle school students in general are great. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of interest. They have a lot of curiosity. And playing with them today was a lot of fun. It was a new thing. I think all of them had never played before. One might have, I think, because he kept asking for a perception check, which it doesn't exist as a mechanic in Tiny Dungeons. So he's either played before and I didn't ask him, or he had heard it, maybe watching a video or something like that. But I will get more information as I go. And so let me bring up what I'm also using, by the way. I am using Fantastic Layers from Mike Shea, Scott Fitzgerald, and James Intricasso. I'm using Fantastic Layers because I've used these before. These are great, learn to play. And it goes through, I believe it's 1 through, adventure-wise, it's levels 1 through 20th. And we are doing the Caves of the Cockatrice, Fantastic Adventures. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link down in the description below. Bunch of great adventures that are in there. Of course, I've never reached 20th yet. I'm usually stuck between 1 and 4. I think, some of you might agree with that. That tends to be sometimes where things kind of level off, maybe. If you're not, playing it a lot. But, yeah, Caves of the Cockatrice is a great adventure for beginners. And in this particular adventure, like I said, I had 4 6th graders. They chose their, how I brought this out here. There's sheets here that I hand out to them. and let them choose what they would like. They have choices, and I will show you here. Let's see. There we go. I will show you what they are here. You can see here you can play a human. Now, humans get 3 traits where others do only get 1. So we have humans. We have the Fae, which is going to play really well in this, I think, because there's some Fae aspects to the adventure. You have the dwarf, and as you can see here, they have it's printed pretty clearly on there. If I can show you that, get it up there. It tells you clearly what you have. Your dwarf attributes. You have 8 hit points. Dwarves start with the heritage trait dark vision, and then it tells you what dark vision is. So you automatically get that, and then you get traits as you gain experience points. Because there's really no levels. It's just more like when you achieve, experience points, then you're going to get another trait. Question: what made you choose Tiny Dungeons over Shadowdark, or are you using the setting of Kriesh? Good question. I am not in this first session. I wanted to. The first reason why did I choose Tiny Dungeons? Number one, I had never played it before, and also it is a D6 system, and so for 6th graders and maybe for middle schoolers in general. I've played the full deal, D20s and everything else. But I wanted to try something different, at least in the sense of, when you have 5 or 6 dice on the table, those things can be fidgety. If you only have 2 dice, and I gave them each 3 6-sided dice, and I'll explain the mechanic here in a little while. But when you have 3 dice, it's less to fiddle with, maybe. Just more of a streamline. So I think I chose Tiny Dungeons over Shadowdark for streamline. I also chose it for its, let's see, I like Shadowdark, and I don't know why I didn't choose Shadowdark in general, because I like playing it and I like running it. I guess I did not want, at least for in schools and for the club, I didn't want to take it too dark. I didn't want it to be like, okay, you're dead in 5 seconds, right? That's, if you're an advanced player, like these kids are playing for the first time, I want them to have the full experience of what is role play. What does it mean to role play your character? And sometimes you don't get to role play your character until you're dead. You're like, I'm dead, right? So but for me, I chose Tiny Dungeons because it's more playful, maybe less deadly in regards to the fact that terrible things don't happen to you all the time. And I also, why are you using your setting of Kriesh? Not in this case. I had thought about it, and I thought, I'm going to go ahead and do system setting neutral. So I'm not using anything. I'm not using, I don't have to rely upon my own memory or somebody else's memory or anything else. It's first of all, they don't care about the setting per se, especially if you're a new player. If I was running a campaign, that would be different, I think. But because this is just going to be a 4-week series, if I was going to go longer or do something else, I would certainly use Kriesh. Although the next time I run it, I may use Kriesh to be able to, as a setting, to build that out a little bit. So I guess I just didn't want to put too much on their plate. I only have an hour and 45 minutes. So if you take out the 15 minutes it took me to kind of set them up, I wanted to get right into it, and I didn't want to, get into, too much of explanation or talk about the setting or those kind of things. So I just went setting neutral, that this is just happening in a place, and not have to worry about all those little details, and not worry too selfishly on my part about my own little world, which I eventually will break in. I just didn't think this was the right time for that. I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. Maybe I can do it in a way in my own head where it's not a big deal or whatever. So I hope that answers your question, Mark. I know that's a very long answer for a very short question. So thank you for asking, though. And then you have a dwarf. We have goblin. I will say this. We have a goblin. One of the young people chose a goblin. And one chose a human knight. And then we have the Salamar, which is a salamander, right? Then you have Treefolk. There are 2 Treefolks. So I have 2 kids who chose Treefolk, which are super interesting. And then you have the Karhu, which is a bear. Then you have Lizard Folk. And those are there. So those are the choices I gave them. I mean, those are the choices that are available to them. There are some of the classes I did not make available to them. I wanted to keep that simple. So I offered them things like the Berserker, which these cards here, if you can see them, are really sharp. And I will put a link down there to where I got them, down in the links below. Because I think because of what it, as you can see here, there's not a lot, there's no stats. So you're not rolling stats. You're just who you are. You have these attributes, you gain attributes, and everything is dictated by the dice. So on these cards, what I like about them, as you can see here, you can check boxes. And I like that, once again, for the simplicity of teaching the game, moving quickly. They can read it, they can check a box, and they know what that is. So for here, example, the person that was playing the knight, I walked, him through it, and he had to choose things like, what's your code of honor, and this may have been the longer one. It's probably why I was helping him. May have been one of the longer ones. And so you picked things. You picked your belief. You picked your trade. You picked your body type or whatever. You picked weapon proficiency. Are you going light weapons or heavy weapons? And on the back, you have your traits. And for humans, you can pick 3. For everyone else, you pick 1. And so I believe for the traits for the knight, I'd have to go back and see I don't remember what he chose. So we have a knight, 2 trees, and a goblin. Pretty fantastic. So at the adventure, so that's the heritages. These are the characters you can play. And of course, there's expansions in that. Tiny Dungeons has a zine, Tiny Zine, I think it's called. Has a lot of cool stuff in it. I don't know if I like the reason I chose the Fantastic Lairs adventures over others. I looked at the Tiny Dungeon adventures. I don't know. They didn't. I felt like they didn't give me enough. But I felt like since I had run the Fantastic Lairs, I said, well, for this time I'm going to go ahead and do that because I get it a little bit more quickly, and I think that there was a lot more juice to it, right? So there's a lot more juice, and I added to it, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So let's see. Let me go take you to before I get into the actual adventure here. Let me just show you a little bit more about the system. Should you be interested in it? The system, here's the cheat sheet. So this should tell you a little bit about the cheat sheet part. So you have tests, right? Just like, challenges, right? Challenge ratings and things like that. So basically you have advantage and disadvantage. So you're rolling and you're trying to get a 5 or a 6 on your dice. And so regularly you're going to roll 2 dice, and one of those has to be a 5 or a 6. If I add a dice, that's 3. You're rolling with advantage. Okay. If you are take away a dice and just you're rolling with 1 dice, then you're rolling with disadvantage, right? And so once again, the simplicity of it, I enjoy that. Once again, it's not that D20 is complicated, but I don't want them looking at all the other dice. I want them just to look at the dice, just 3 6-sided dice. Keep it simple. Keep it clean, right? Combat options. Now, there's some things I did not go over with them. I just didn't have time. Also, I forgot, but that's okay. I'll give them. I'm wondering, too, if the cheat sheet I hand out on the second day rather than the first day, because now they don't have to worry about a lot of paper now. Now they've got their character created. The space in front of them will be less distracting. So if I give them this cheat sheet, they'll know exactly what they can do on their turn. So on their options, they can attack, which is a standard test. They can move. approximately 25 feet. I made it 30. It's fine. Evade. So when you are attacked, you can make an evade move. So if you want to roll 1d6, right, you're rolling at disadvantage. You're just saying, look, I'm going to try to avoid this. If I roll a 5 or 6, your hit's going to miss, right? And then you have the focus. So which is next test is a success on a 4, 5, or 6. So if they want to focus, I would think focus is mostly range weapons, or unless you're working on something, unless you're super, I wouldn't say that you're concentrated. I don't know if I would use focus with a melee, but I would certainly use, say, look, if you have an arrow, if you have a bow that you're shooting with, and you want to focus, then I would probably let you go ahead and, go with advantage there. Hello there, Erudite. Good to see you. Happy you're here. And then you have hit points. The hit points are low enough for each character. Like I said, they average between 5 and 8, probably hit points. And then you have save tests. So the save test is just like regular tests, and unless otherwise noted by the rules of the game master, you roll 2d6 to revolve your test. Any 5 or 6 rolled represents a successful save, and a failed save will have effects determined by the GM, which we had some fails, but nothing dramatic because it was the first session and it was the opening, so everything's fine there. Nothing there. So initiative tests. I also did not get into initiative because they were taking action. I'll say about the 6th graders. The majority of them wanted to take action, right? I didn't have to, push them in any way. They took action, which I appreciated. So adventurers will roll a standard 2d6. Adventurers will roll a standard 2d6 test and add up the total of their rolls. Go highest to lowest. Each round, a character gets 2 actions. So, and that will matter as we get into the cave. It didn't matter. Lots of role play in this session that we had. Let me go through the rest of this. How magic works. I'll talk a little bit about our session then. So then you have spell readers, right? They are the ones who will deal with scrolls. Which that reminds me, I'll probably need to throw a few more scrolls in here. I think the druids do a little magic, so it will apply to them, not so much to the other people. But you have to roll a test for that. Then you have spell touched. And spell touched, to use this ability, simply describe in detail what you are trying to do, and perform a standard 2d6 test. If you are trying to manipulate an object, you must have eye contact with it. The GM has final say if something fails into the spell touched ability, okay, or falls into the spell touched ability. You can also perform a simple ranged attack with magic, such as magic bolt. This is treated just like any other ranged attack in combat, requires an action and a successful 2d6 trait. Then you have beast speakers, which will likely be the druids as well. Beast speakers are also somewhat magical in nature, as they can somehow speak to and understand animals, just as though they were talking to a person, which we had that happen. I'll tell you in a minute. And then you have healers, which also kind of applies to druids as well. Really anybody who chooses it, because I think on the back of on the knight, I think it is let's see. No, only a few are offered the healing trait. You can take it, but I guess you would get it at some point during the adventure as a special ability or something like that. But healers, in order to heal, you must be adjacent to your target and perform a standard 2d6 test. If successful, they heal 2 hit points. So we had that today, and that's your cheat sheet. That tells you how all the mechanics of it is a rules light system, and so Chubby Funster has entered the chat. Yes, that is correct, Chubby. I did tiny dungeons, and should you have missed, why I stated so is simply that I wanted to be because I'm doing this 4 weeks, and by the way, nobody's safe. I want to say this: I'm not keeping anybody's character alive. I told them, should you lose all your hit points, your character will be gone from this place. But I did not want to. I just didn't want to use Shadow Dark in this case. I wanted to try Tiny Dungeons because I had never run it, so it was personal for me. But there may be a scenario in the future where I run that with another group. In fact, I might run it with 8th graders, but I might not. I don't know. We'll see. But that's the Tiny Dark. I'm sure. Why is that not a thing yet, right? Why has that not come out? I think this is put out by Gallant Games. So I don't know why Gallant Games is. Maybe it's there and I don't know it. But should there be a Tiny Dark? So, tell you about the session here. We had there was a young lady in our group, and look, 6th graders are a squirrely bunch, guys. If you've ever played with teenagers, if you've ever played a role-playing game with them, they can be a little squirrely. 6th graders, definitely squirrely. They wanted to do everything. They were thrilled to be there. They were excited to play. They were excited to try it. The young lady especially. So when we get into the scenario, they meet the mayor of the town who is trying to find Lord Marvell. And Lord Marvell is missing. He has gone on some quest to prove to his love that he was going to, kill a beast in her honor. So he ran off into the woods and has not been seen since. So as we get started on the journey, our scoundrel of the group wanted to take a nap. Okay. I said, buddy, we're not going to role play the nap. We can't sit here and listen to you snore for an hour. Okay. But that's how detailed they wanted to be. It's like, well, I'm going to go back in time. I'm going to go take a nap. And then somebody else was eating the food. And they gathered up the food on the table that was served to them, and they brought it with them, into the woods and so forth. So the first encounter, I, of course, are thinking combat, right? I said, let's get this started. Let them rolling dice to do some things. And so the spider appears in the woods. They are pretty tiny. 6th graders are even tinier. I can tell you that. But these 6th graders, they go in there, they go into the woods, they see a spider, and they're like, oh, you know how it is. Sometimes with teenagers, and especially teenage girls, oh, a spider. So she immediately says, well, I'm going to talk to it. And she says, I offer it an apple. I was like, this young lady is going to be a winner. I'm just telling you. And I don't mind the things like that. Like if they want to play that out, that's great. Of course, I'm thinking, you want to see how they're going to react, right? That I find that most this teenage group here and some others, not everybody's a murder hobo. They choose negotiation more times than they've chosen combat. They're investigating the situation. They don't know what's happening, so their first inclination is to ask questions, which I think is good. I mean, that's part of social emotional learning, which is partly what we're trying to help teenagers do, is regulate that, listen, not everything is combat. Not everything is no reason to be defensive all the time. Sometimes you need to be aware of those things. But in this case, they were like, hey, we're just chilling. So she goes forward. This spider's going to attack her, and she goes up and she offers an apple. And I said, okay, roll your 2d6. Let's see if your curiosity pleases the beast or something like that. She rolls 2 6s. Once again, it doesn't matter if it's a D20 or 2 D6s. Once you explain to them that if you roll 2 D6s, something epic happens, or if you roll 2 1s, something really terrible happens, they understand. So 2d6, they're like, woohoo, 2d6. Well, what happens? Well, I did not try to convert them to Memnon. I absolutely did not. I also did not offer them to be, servants of your deity, because they are clearly on a lower level. I would not allow them to, slum like that. So the young lady rolls 2d6s. I say the spider, even though it's a beast, it has basic understanding, right? It understands what it's doing, but it doesn't attack her. Instead, it sends out a web, Spider-Man version, gets the apple, yanks it back, and takes it from her. And so now, of course, she's like communicating about the forest, She's got this whole dialogue. It's, it's how it goes, right? But I'm loving it. And there was the unit director was there watching the whole thing, and boy, she was enthralled with it too. She saw what the kids were doing, and you do it enough with teenagers, you watch them develop even during the gameplay. They shine in ways maybe that they don't shine other places. They're active in ways they're not active in other places. But around this table, they were very active and very cool. So anyway, this young lady goes into this whole thing. She's got a lot of info. So I had to kind of, I got to reel, some players, you just got to reel them in. It's okay. She did a great job. So then I say, okay, would anybody else, what is it? So everybody, of course, everybody in the group's got to offer an apple now, right? So they offer their apples. They all pass. They all get a 5 or a 6, believe it or not. And so these apples are going. And so to keep the thing moving, the spider says, okay, it doesn't say anything. It weaves a web with an arrow in it, pointing them in the right direction. So I thought that was a very good encounter because they all participated. They all offered something. They all gave something. I brought them through to then what is the mouth of the cave. And the mouth of the cave has a statue of a dwarf with its hands broken off, and may or may not be, once a living person. And so they all kind of get weird vibes over it. They don't know why the hands are broken off or anything like that. And and so in doing that, I still wanted combat. I wanted to, and partly I do this because there's certain kids around the table who are a little quieter, who I wanted to get engaged quickly, especially the knight. The knight had he came up with some great stuff. He chose to be a fallen knight. He chose to be a knight that had been kicked out of his order. He calls himself the Hunter Knight. That has a whole background to it, so that'll be exciting to watch that develop. So, so they're looking for Lord Marvell, and so I have a goblin come out of the cave who had just been basically wandering around looking, treasure hunting on his own. And comes out and immediately attacks the knight. And I did 1 point of damage, right? Now, had I asked him to evade, which I should have, I didn't have my own cheat sheet out, so I didn't ask him, but it's fine. He took 1 point of damage. I said, what would you like to do? And he says, well, I will attack it back. So what does he do? He rolls 2 6s, double 6s. And I say, okay, buddy, just tell me what you do. How do you kill this goblin? He says, I strike it, I swing at it, and I strike it in the chest. Well, double 6 is pretty good. I'm going to let him cut it. I'm going to let him cut it right in half. And I say, he falls into pieces. He just slides off and just boom. And that got a big, uproar from the table. And so where that leaves us between things, there's some kids in a club atmosphere, some kids have to leave early, right? Maybe they get to play for 30 minutes. Maybe they get to play an hour. Maybe they get to play the whole time. So I'm interested to see if any students say, Mom, Dad, I want to stay longer so I can play this game. I'm interested to see the feedback on that. But then we ended our session at the mouth of the cave, so that when kids come back, they will have missed a little bit, but they will not have missed the major portions there. So they looted the body, of course, too, by the way. The thief, of course, thought of that and said, and so the knight got first in because he was there, and he looks through and he finds a helmet. And I just put that on him just to give it a clue. And so he finds a helmet, and it has LM on it, which is the initials of, it's Lord Marvel. So, finding a clue, leaving them with that little bit of a good stopping point where they find the helmet. They know Lord Marvel is in there now. They know they've come to the right location. And then as they enter in, I do see this going about 4 sessions. I don't know how far we're going to get, but we got far enough. So I think this is probably going to do we can do the whole adventure in 4 sessions. And Madeira, you mean Medea? Or is that who we're talking about? Medea? That's who I think. That's who I think you're serving, Erudite DM is Medea. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's her new name, Medea. But yeah, so that is my breakdown, and hopefully I will bring to you some breakdowns of these sessions, what it is, the difference between a 6th grade group and an 8th grade group. I felt like the intro time was good. You know, I always try to unpack kind of how we did, right? How I did personally. I go by my own standards. I might fill out my own DM, survey due to that. Trying to GM for a group of kids would terrify me, Paul. I applaud your bravery. Well, thank you. Once again, I love, it's really great improv with 6th graders. 8th graders are going to be a little bit different. I do believe they're going to be a little bit more aggressive. They may be the ones who say, spider, kill it with fire. They may be the ones who are more impetuous. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I like the Tiny D system, the Tiny Dungeon system. It's very streamlined, which is kind of what I'm looking for this particular group, because there is a specific time frame, all those things. But Shadow Dark is on the table for a particular group. I want to make sure that I've run this a couple of times and then kind of try them with different systems. Try them with 5e or try them with Shadow Dark. And try them with different things and allow them to see different mechanics, how games have different mechanics. And like I said, the next session I have will be Tuesday with the 8th graders. And I'm going to run an adventure. This should be fun. I'm going to run an adventure from Prepared 2. I think I'm going to do, there's this thing in there, and I got to figure out how I'm going to build this. I'm going to do the Dibs Wagon of Doom, which is basically goblins have gotten hold of a war wagon. They have built a war wagon. They've taken a wagon. It has a turret on top. It has this cannon, which is a large, crossbow, and they're shooting things out of it. So basically, they're going to come into a town. These kids are going to have to figure out what to do about Dib and his crew of unruly guys who are, like rowing this thing, into towns and causing chaos. I haven't figured out I think I'm going to have them like stealing pies or something for some reason. Just going to town, they're going to steal the town's pies. And they're going to have to figure out how to deal with that and maybe have a lair to go back to. This does not have a lair to it, per se. It does have something funny. They have wrestling moves, okay, which is pretty funny. But they may have to track them back like to their lair, something like that, give them a dungeon type of experience. Because I would like it to be because they're going to a cave, so it's very dungeon-like. And I may do something very similar with the goblins in this particular adventure. So, yes, Funky Cole Medina. Okay. But yeah, any other questions you guys have for me? Otherwise, I will let you guys go. Once again, I had a great time running the game. And hopefully over the next... So I will run basically 8 sessions in the next month. And then that's at one club. Then I hope to introduce it to other clubs, and as I go around and do those things, as I do my own job, in addition to this, doing, helping and supporting the other unit directors and other team directors of clubs and helping them facilitate this as well. But yeah, overall satisfied. Didn't run it completely correctly because I got to put in the evade, the focus, those kind of things. And we'll kind of see where we're at. So, well, that's what session 2s are for. It's to fix the session 1s. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Thanks for being a part of it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. It tells me you like the video and you want more of them. I will put all the links to the Tiny Dungeon things. If you're interested in the Tiny Dungeon things, you can get those for yourself. I recommend them. It was good stuff. And we'll see how the next session goes. Please come back and play with us on Monday night. GM Chubby is trying to kill us all. Well, I understand that, and he probably has good cause to do that. The problem, too, Erudite, with my job is sometimes I'm not done. I work now. It's 40-minute drive. So 40-minute drives, I'm coming in hot. And it depends. Sometimes I don't get off till 6. depending if I have to stay there, if there's an issue with a van or a thing or whatever, who knows what's happening, right? I have to deal with all those things now that I did not have to deal with before, but I will surely try to join you once again on Monday nights because I enjoy hanging out and playing with all of you. So, but that's it for tonight, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for being a part, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hopefully, we'll be next Tuesday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, and we'll see you then.